So welcome everyone. My name is Mauricio Cobian and I'm from the UCLA International Education Office, which is the one-stop shop for undergraduate study abroad opportunities at UCLA. It's through our office that you can consult with our study abroad advisors or coordinator who can, talk to you about the programs, differentiate the programs, let you know what kind of coursework you can take on some of these opportunities. It's also a space where we can connect you with study abroad returnees. While we are the individual advisors for certain programs, naturally, it is not conceivable that we all individually studied abroad at each one of these destinations. So we're not always the best person to tell you about what that experience is actually going to be like, but sometimes a returnee can actually offer you that, someone that just more recently went on these individual programs. So we have returnees that we can connect with you, and they can tell you a little bit about their experience on the programs, or academically sometimes, if you want to connect with another mechanical engineer, we can do that. This session, Study Abroad for Engineering Majors, is a part of our Global Learning Opportunities Week, which is wrapping up this week, actually. It was a week-long event where we were showcasing different types of programs, number of study abroad related resources, funding opportunities, and major related sessions like this one. All of our sessions, even though most of them have wrapped up by now, are accessible in the on-demand section of our GLOW website, which I mentioned just earlier. Today, we're also joined by one of the School of Engineering academic advisors who will cover some of the major and school-specific advice for you, and I'll allow them to introduce themselves.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Kat, and I'm one of the new academic counselors actually with the School of Engineering. I mostly advise chemical engineering, bio-e, and civil, but we have 13 other counselors in our office that advises all the other engineering majors as well. We are open like hybrid right now, but our office is open 5 days a week from 8 to 5. So if you ever have any questions, we're located in Bolter Hall if you ever need to come and find us.
Excellent. Thank you, Kat. All right, so this is what our agenda is for today. We just covered a brief welcome. I will cover a little bit of COVID-19 and what's going on with that in study abroad. There'll be a few study abroad 101 refreshers. So this session is sort of based on, some folks having already looked at the 101 where we cover the more general information. So this is a little bit more, let's call it an advanced session, a little bit more tailored towards engineering. Followed by how to study abroad in your major if you're interested in doing that, then some sample programs that offer some engineering coursework, and we'll wrap up with the Q&A with our study abroad returnees, whom I'll introduce closer as we get to that part of the session. So study abroad and COVID-19. Finally, for today's session, we primarily want to share that after an 18-month hiatus, fall 2021, this current fall, our study abroad programs are finally running in person once again. And we expect, barring any unforeseen circumstances that the world is going to throw at us, that will continue to be the case for winter and spring programs, summer, next fall, etc. Now, that's just a big overview. If you're interested in learning a little bit more of the details of how we're assessing these programs and things like that, there is a COVID session. That's a 15-minute session that we ran. It goes much more into detail of how we're sort of navigating that. So please check that out if you're interested in learning more. Another plug that I want to make in the context of COVID-19 is that the pandemic has left a huge backlog for US passport processing. So if you've never received a passport or you would need to renew it, I encourage you to do that as soon as possible if you can afford to start that process now. Well, typically it would take a month and a half to get a passport. Right now it's taking 4 to 5 months. So start that process as soon as possible. For US citizens, if you're not a US citizen, simply contact your local embassy or consulate to see what that process is like. I don't think those are going to take about 4 to 5 months, but I imagine that they also have some delays. So that's one of the things you probably want to get started as soon as possible. And that's created a couple of delays for some of our students. So a couple of 101 refreshers. I know, again, we build the session as building on the 101, but in case some of you did not get a chance to look at the 101, I'm just going to cover some quick refreshers. But as you can see here, the 101 goes deep into all the program types that we offer, how credit transfers, cost and funding, the application process and timeline. Here, we're mostly going to focus on major discipline-specific sessions, returnee advice, and our Q&A. But so here are some quick refreshers. The types of study abroad opportunities are very different now. Historically, it used to be this university immersion where you study at a local university with local students and some of your UC peers that are also part of the program. So that's still an opportunity. That's where you can take courses, in your major, outside of your major, completely not related to your major. You have, whatever's offered at that university, you can take, which could be in some cases over 500 different courses. We also have something called UCLA Travel Study. That's our UCLA faculty-led program. These are short-term summer programs that are more, I would describe as experiential courses on the go. This is where, an engineering student might be able to knock out a few GEs on a program in Copenhagen, where, they're taking you to museums, taking you on site visits, and it's almost like a course on the go, a little bit less traditional. There are also internship and research opportunities that you can do abroad. This would be for academic credit. So at the end of the day, you're writing a paper on your experiences and getting units for that. There are dozens other types, but I would say these three categories here cover about 90% of the types of study abroad that exist at UCLA. Now, narrowing down your programs, you'll learn shortly that there isn't one factor that determines which program you're going to go on. Students might prioritize, I want to go to France no matter what. Some students say, well, I need to complete this electrical engineering course and I need to find that course. Other students say, I want to live in a homestay. So all those factors are going to determine what the right program is for you. We've developed a resource that you can check out at bit.ly/HTCHYP, how to choose your program. And it lists kind of a list of questions that you can sort of ask yourself to sort of start narrowing down the type of program that you're interested in exploring. When it comes to financial aid, short answer for today's presentation is yes. If you are eligible for financial aid, you can use your UCLA financial aid for a study abroad program. Yes, there are scholarship opportunities that you can apply to. Most of them are need-based, but there are also other programs that are identity-based, discipline-based, scholarships for specific parts of the world, like the UK and Israel. So there are scholarship opportunities to chip away at the cost of study abroad. When to apply, generally you want to do this about 9 months before the start of the program. So at this time, actually I'm going to skip to the last question here. At this time, our applications are now open for summer and fall 2022 programs this quarter. And the deadlines are going to vary by program. Most of them are going to be sometime in January, but there are some that are going to be in December, a little bit sooner. And there are some that are also going to be due perhaps as late as April. So there's a huge range, but applications are generally now open for the summer or fall 2022 options. Generally, most study abroad programs are not competitive. Most of them are first come, first serve. There are a few exceptions to that. But provided that you meet the eligibility criteria, you should be going abroad. There are also some programs where you simply register and you're going to be going on a study abroad program. So how does it work to study abroad as a UCLA engineering major? One of the things that I'll just, before I pass this on to Kat, is share that students aren't obligated to study abroad in their major. And I share that because often a student starts a conversation with us saying something like, I am a CS major. What's the program that I need to do? Or what's the program for me? And the thing is, our programs are not designed for specific majors. And that's a good thing, I would say. Because you can study abroad in your major if that's what you want to do, or if that's what allows you to study abroad. But students can work on their GEs, on their minor, tech breadth, just units, or personal professional development. Often the last two are in combination with some of the other things. But in all of these cases, you're still making progress towards your degree. So there are some students that they might, go on a semester or summer program and just focus on other things that are not their major. Of course, this takes, careful planning with your school and major advisors. As I shared, programs are not designed around a specific major. So we really encourage you to search programs that beyond, what your discipline is. But if you really want to study abroad in your major, or really your major is one such that kind of requires you to do something major specific to go abroad, the term that you're interested in going abroad, I'm now going to pass it off to Kat to cover, what some School of Engineering advice for this.
Awesome, thank you. So I'll specifically be going over like the easiest or like the best time to study abroad while keeping your major in time. So for the most part, like for all engineering majors, the summer is generally going to be the best time to go, just so like you're not missing out on too many of your major requirements. And so for most majors, you might want to aim to go within your first 2 years, just so you can aim to take more general classes in your major prep, such as like math, chemistry, or physics. It might be easier to find a university that offers like a general math, chem, or physics course, as opposed to like a very specific engineering course that's only offered at UCLA, such as like machine learning and genetics, or like geohazards. So you also want to make sure that you can find equivalent courses, and I'll go over more about how to do that in like the next coming slides. But yeah, but again, summer is generally going to be the best time to go for all engineering students. I also just wanted to preface before I go into this, like if you really can't go into the summer, for most majors, like going before your third year, like before you start taking your upper division courses, like specific to your major, would also be good. And then during fall quarter, we also recommend that as well, since a lot of universities are going to be on semester system. So if you go during like the fall, you won't really lose like more than 1 quarter. So like, for example, like if you go to Europe in January, like you might be there for a semester, but a semester, keep in mind, will include both winter and spring quarter. So you would essentially lose like about 2 quarters. So just keep that in mind. Like if you can't go into summer, try to aim maybe before your third year, or during fall quarter. But there are like a few exceptions. So I'm just gonna go over like maybe the best time for each major. So for specifically like for bioengineering majors, like if summer is not an option, you could possibly go during fall of your second year. And then if you decide to go during like fall of your third year, you need to either take EE 100 during the summer, or you need to find an equivalent course to EE 100 abroad. So just keep in mind for my bioengineering majors out there that EE 100 is a prereq to BE 120. And that class is only offered once a year during the winter. So if you're not able to take that class, that might have some repercussions on your 4-year plan. It might kind of push things behind a little bit. So just keep that in mind. For chemical engineering, you generally want to go before your third year, just because like when you start, well, after your third year is kind of when you start hitting all of your major upper division requirements. And the reason why is because for chemical engineering, like almost all chemie courses are offered only once a year. So again, like you don't want to miss out on those courses. Otherwise it could kind of like put you behind a year. And then for civil engineering, the best time would probably actually be after like fall of your third year, because for most civil engineerings, after fall of their third years, most of your classes might actually just be like electives, tech press, maybe a few major classes, but those are a lot easier to move around and they're a lot more flexible in your schedule, so there wouldn't be too many repercussions. For CS, CSE, or computer engineering, the best time would also be fall of your third year or your fourth year, since in your first 2 years, it's pretty imperative that you take your core prep classes like CS 31, 32, and 33. And a lot of our CS students end up taking mostly like GEs, electives, or tech prep classes. And again, those are a lot more flexible. You can move those around and shift things around in your schedule. So those would be a lot more feasible. And then for electrical engineering, and then if we can go to the next slide too, I'm going to bunch electrical and materials and mechanical together. So for all 3 of those majors, it's recommended that you attend before your third year to take classes to satisfy your prep classes. So again, like majority of your third and fourth year classes for those majors will involve taking like major upper division core classes. So it might be a little bit harder to find course equivalencies if you're taking them abroad. And then just before I go on to the next slide, I just want to say a disclaimer that like I'm only suggesting like the most general times to go, but honestly, the best time for you to study abroad, it's going to vary for each student. So I would highly, highly, highly recommend like making an appointment with your counselor to make a 4-year plan. Let them know that, you know, like I want to study abroad during fall of this quarter. Can we try to like shift some classes around? What is movable? What is not movable? So again, like you can go on our website and schedule a one-on-one with us, and your counselor will be able to kind of decipher when the best quarter is for you that would specifically like match your needs. Okay, so now I'm gonna go over just how to seek course equivalency and how you can get like course, how you can get a course abroad to satisfy like a UCLA course or an elective or a tech breadth requirement. So pretty much like when you want to see if a course abroad is equivalent to a UCLA course, you go through our course evaluation page on our website. So the URL is linked in the PowerPoint, but you pretty much type in like czawasa.ucla.edu. You click on our undergraduate tab and you click on summer sessions and transfer equivalence tab. But if that's too much to remember, like the URL is right there. So make sure to take a picture of that. So there you'll see a button, like a blue button to fill out our form. And that's where you're going to enter in like the number of units, the title of the course that you're taking, where you're taking it. And you can enter in like what you want it to be equivalent for or what you want it to satisfy. So if you want to take like a course to satisfy a GE, you can certainly fill out our form there. If you wanted to satisfy like a tech breadth or a major elective, again, you can fill out that form as well. And yeah, another thing I want to mention is that in the form, you also want to make sure to attach a detailed syllabus. There have been a lot of times where like students will fill out a form and they'll attach like a very vague syllabus and it only mentions like policy, like a cheating policy or like the name of the textbook, but there's nothing about like the course content. So you want to make sure that you're able to get like a detailed syllabus that includes like what topics are being taught, what are the assignments, and not just like a policy or like attendance and stuff like that, because those things don't really tell me like what the class is about, and it's certainly not going to tell faculty what the course is about that you're taking abroad. But yeah, so you can fill out the form multiple times for like multiple classes to see what course is like equivalent before you sign up for the actual course. So what you don't want to do is, you know, sign up for a course and not know if it will satisfy anything, because we've had a few students that took some courses abroad, but then they come back and they find that like, oh, like this isn't exactly what I thought it would be equivalent to. So try to make sure to like, you know, turn in a form ahead of time before you sign up. That way you can go without, you know, feeling anxious about like, oh, will it satisfy anything? And then another thing just to keep in mind that our course evaluation process for like GEs, engineering electives and tech breadths, they like we'll take those, but if you're taking like a math or a physics or chemistry course abroad, you would need to go to your respective like department to see what their course eval process is. So like math, so again, math, chem, physics, if you're taking a course and you want to see if it's equivalent to like math 32A, you would need to go to the math department to see what their course evaluation process is like.
All right, thank you, Kat. So now what I'm going to showcase is some of the sample programs that, you know, we want to showcase to engineering students. Some of this stuff, some of the coursework is going to highlight some places where you could do engineering coursework, and others are just going to focus where you can do GEs, right? So as following sort of the theme here that, you know, you don't have to necessarily stick to engineering if, let's say, you want to, you know, a study abroad program. But all the while consulting with your engineering advisors to make sure that that plan makes sense for you to graduate in the time that you have in mind for yourself. So I'll start here with some UCLA travel study programs. So these are the ones that are 3 to 5 week summer only programs with UCLA professors. And first we have here, this is kind of new for us. It's actually, there is a program that's led by an engineering school faculty in material science. So this is a program that goes to Cyprus for the summer. And these are the two courses that are offered here: material structure and technology, and archaeology and architecture. And then there is a lab that is cultural science, investigations in art and archaeology. So this satisfies one of the material science major electives. And it might be by petition that you might be able to get technical breadth requirements, but that's not something that has been pre-approved so far, but something that you might consider petitioning if you're, if you do sign up for this program. On the other spectrum, so non-engineering, I like to showcase this program because it's one of the ones that I describe as, bang for your buck. So there's a program in Copenhagen that is led by one of the professors in the Scandinavian section here at UCLA. 4 weeks in Copenhagen, you're taking 2 courses. One is Scandinavian 50W, a writing course, and a Scandinavian crime literature course where you study things like Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. And this automatically, because these are UCLA courses, it satisfies writing 2 requirement, your literary cultural analysis, and in theory, diversity requirement for School of Letters and Science, Music, and Public Affairs, if you happen to also have those requirements, which you might not. This program actually, by the way, also has another option to do Scandinavian 50 without the W, which means you wouldn't satisfy the writing 2 requirement. Let's say if you didn't want to write more and you had already satisfied that requirement, but this is a great opportunity to knock out a few requirements. Along the same line, here's another one where you can program in Rome with UCLA faculty member. You can satisfy here literary and cultural or the historical analysis, diversity requirement, and make progress towards a foreign language requirement, which School of Engineering does not have. But if you were interested in, picking up some Italian language, this would be a great program to do something like that. The UCLA Global Internship Program. So this is this is now our 2nd year running this program, except last year we had to do it as virtual only, but this is going to be the first year we're running it in person. There is a special track just for UCLA engineering students. So this is a UCLA program. On this program, through the engineering track, there's 4 locations or 4 options that you can do. There's a program in Bali. The internships there really focus on more environmental themes with the environment and sustainability. There's programs in Berlin, in Osaka, and there's a virtual option still. If, for example, you want this experience, but you don't have the ability to travel. This is a 10-week-long program. It's usually 8 weeks on site, but the total course itself runs for 10 weeks, which means you're doing this online, but the internship itself is in person. And the core course is really just this Engineering 195 course. It is required and it is done on a pass, no pass basis. And students have the option of adding this additional intercultural communication in the global workplace, which would be for a letter grade, but it's an option if you need, for example, additional units and things like that. Our understanding is that the intercultural communication course has been pre-approved for social analysis. It also just gives you upper division units, but consult your School of Engineering for any other things that this may be able to satisfy. Now, UCEAP. UCAP, there isn't one way to categorize what UCAP is. It is a program where you can do the programs during the academic year, but they also have summer options. Before transitioning to those options, something I don't personally place too much value on ranking. Some folks do, but I highlight this just to show you the sort of the quality of institutions that you're able to participate on UCEAP. So this is where the UC schools, some of the UC schools rank, and everything else that's in white is a partner university that you can study abroad in. So one of the first UCAP programs that I want to showcase is this linear algebra in Rome. It kind of touches a little bit on what Kat was sharing in terms of satisfying some of the core non-engineering requirements that you have. And for this one, it's kind of unique because we've already kind of pre-petitioned this on your behalf. So on this program, you get to satisfy your Math 33A requirement and the historical or social analysis GE on this program. So one of the highlights here is, of course, you can complete that math requirement and a GE, and you get to experience Italian art, food and culture inside and outside of the classroom. There's 2 electives that you can choose from here. And one of them is like an art sort of Roman history course, and the other one's a little bit more food and culture and Italian culture kind of thing. So you get to choose one of 2 options. There are prerequisites here, and what we've done essentially, we've aligned the prerequisites for this program as the prerequisites to get into Math 33A, or the prerequisites that you should have before going into that course. So we've just made sure that that is synchronized there. Another opportunity that used to be very popular with our engineering students, we don't know what it's going to be like this coming summer because the curriculum has changed. We used to have a summer physics program that was also pre-approved with our physics department, where you can complete physics 1A, 1B, and 1C. Unfortunately, they've reassessed the curriculum, and now you can get credit for 1A and 1B and 1 elective non-physics course. There's a precaution that I would extend here, and I don't know if there's anything that Kat necessarily would want to share. Even when we had the full series, there was a precaution that, if that program were to fall through or something were to happen where you cannot participate in the program, this is a bit of a risky opportunity because, if you're not able to complete your physics series by, let's say that summer, for some folks, that might put you in a very tough position of having to, be behind because you need your physics curriculum before you can move into your other courses. Given the fact that now it's 1A and 1B, now you would need to find an opportunity to do 1C after that summer. So this may or may not be the right opportunity for everybody, but we wanted to showcase that this is a program where you can satisfy those 3 courses. Kat, I don't know if there was anything specific that you wanted to add about students who might be interested in this opportunity.
Yeah, so I think for this program, I would again highly recommend, going to see your counselor again. So letting them know hey, I want to do this program, but they only offer 1A and 1B and not the complete series. So again, you want to come in and talk to your counselor so that they can kind of map out what classes you need to take to make sure that you're making progress towards your degree in a timely manner. But yeah, we don't want you to be super behind, and for some majors you might need physics 1A and 1B as prerequisites for other engineering courses. So again, it kind of depends on each student, but I would say if you're interested in this program, then I would make sure to come see a counselor, make an appointment on our website, and just map out your study abroad plan and your 4-year plan.
Thanks, Kat. So now actually going into the engineering coursework. So here's one of those traditional immersion programs where, you essentially become an exchange student at the University of New South Wales in Australia. This is a fall semester or spring semester year-long program. This is where you can satisfy pretty much any type of credit, provided that, your petition gets approved. You're taking courses with local students, whatever coursework is offered there, whether it's engineering or not engineering. And because there's hundreds of courses in engineering at each of the programs that I'm going to keep showcasing, in the subsequent slides, here I just pulled some sample. It's literally a sliver of what you can do here, but I've tried to kind of pull some sample courses for more or less most of the engineering disciplines that we have here at UCLA. So you can kind of just quickly browse here what some of the sample coursework you can go do. One of the things that I've also done is that I put together this bit link that takes you directly to the catalog. So if you wanted to explore the coursework that's offered, the engineering coursework specifically, that's offered at this program, check out this bit.ly link / UNSWENG, so University of New South Wales Engineering, and check out the catalogs of what they offer there. I'm going to kind of more power through the next ones because you'll kind of get a sense of, what I just covered here. It's just kind of duplicated. Same thing with University of Singapore, same term, same kind of credit. This is a place, by the way, that you can secure research-based unpaid internships once you're already on site. here's some of the sample course that you can do there. And there's a lot more at that bit.ly link, NUSENG. By the way, that's all caps for most of these bit.ly links. Same thing you could do at Seoul National University, one of the most prestigious universities in Korea. What's nice about this is even though you're in a non-English speaking country, this coursework is offered in English. So you're able to take these courses if you're not fluent in Korean. Lund University has always been my go-to recommendation for students going to Europe because they have really good syllabi system, which means you can petition these with less of a headache. And here's some of the sample coursework that you can do there. Same thing with University of Edinburgh. They offer a couple of engineering disciplines, although I would say their strength is CS coursework. And here's where you could also access some of their detailed course catalogs there. So this is literally just a sliver of options that you can do on UCEAP if you want to study engineering. There's dozens more. But another UCAP type of program that exists would be something like this. Made in Italy. This is a program where you're taking courses only with your UC peers. So this is not at a local university. It's a program created by the UC system. For engineers, this would be a good place to petition GEs because that's the kind of coursework that they offer here. I've listed a lot of the courses that are generally offered, but keep in mind that the courses that are offered in summer are not the same ones as the fall or same as the winter, same as the spring option. So I just kind of pulled everything just to give you a snapshot of what you can do there. Again, this would be more of working on your GEs, whether it's a summer program, fall option, or other. So now transitioning to our Q&A with our student returnees. So I'm gonna ask them to come online or kind of, there you go, they're doing it, thank you. I'll let them introduce themselves first, and then I'll moderate a couple of questions here. And once we get to the actual Q&A for all kinds of things, if you have questions for our returnees, you know, hopefully they're willing to answer some of those, but I'll just kind of go through a few of the moderated questions first to kind of learn a little bit more about their experience. So let's start with Logan. Do you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, how's it going? My name's Logan. I'm a fourth-year civil engineering major with a minor in environmental systems and society. And I studied at Trinity College fall of my second year. So with civil engineering, fall second year is actually really possible as long as you do your statics before. So if you take the mechanical version of statics the spring of your first year, then it's super easy to go that year as well, but also fourth year and after third year, fall is a great option as well. But I decided to go earlier, which was really good because that was right. That was like our last program, I believe, that before everything kind of got canceled. So it's very fortunate. In Trinity, I did some GE, some minor courses, and then I took a math course as well. So nothing specific to civil engineering in terms of the major, but a lot of prereq requirements and for my minor in math as well. So yeah, I'm sure you have other questions that I'll be able to cover more, but looking forward to answer any questions you guys have.
Thanks, Logan. And Kelly.
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm Kelly. I'm currently a fourth year mechanical engineering student at UCLA, and I studied abroad the summer of 2019. Which was right after my freshman year. And this was the perfect time for me personally, given the schedule of classes I was taking. And I specifically participated in the UCAP Summer School Abroad program at the University of Glasgow in Scotland, which was around like 9 weeks. And I was specifically enrolled in the mathematics program instead of the physics program that was specific to the university at the time. And I was able to fulfill my requirements for the 33 math series, which included linear algebra and differential equations, because at the end of my freshman year, I took the entire 32 series. So this class was next in line for me. And in addition to those two classes, I was also able to fulfill a historical analysis GE with a very, very casual like Scottish culture and history class that often took me on field trips. So that was pretty cool. And I'm open to answer any questions you guys have about my experience or study abroad in general.
Thanks, Kelly. So I'm going to ask the same question of both of you, and this time I'll start with Kelly. Essentially, the bigger question is, could you describe your program a little bit more? And I'll give you a couple of sort of sub questions there that you can sort of answer or kind of go in your own direction. But essentially, is describe your program a little bit more in detail. And some sub questions would be, who are you taking classes with? What was your housing and meal-like situation? And if you can, what did a typical week look like for you?
Yeah, for sure. So my program was organized by the UC system, like UC Education Abroad system. So I took classes with other UC students, and there were a lot of UCLA students as well that I've remained really close friends with. And my mathematics program was much smaller than the physics program. And so there were around like 12 students in total, 5 of them from UCLA. And our classes were flipped classroom style. So instead of like a big lecture hall where you have hundreds of students listening to a professor, we sat in groups of 3 in small tables. And we each had a TA that worked underneath the professor who gave like the guiding lecture. And the rest of the class time, and we met like maybe 3 times a week, was a lot of active recall and working through problems with the TA. So I felt like I was actually able to learn a lot more during the class time as compared to studying so much like in my flat. Flat is an apartment in Scotland. But the typical week for me were the 3 classes. And then because I took classes and lived with the same group of people, we were pretty close that we studied together and then also went to get food together. And the meal plan for me was breakfast, lunch, and dinner was provided from the university for Monday to Friday. But then on the weekends was when I would either cook for myself back in my flat or go out and eat somewhere and travel around Scotland or even around Europe. But that was basically what the program looked like for me. It was very structured and very comfortable because I was mostly surrounded with other students, UC students like me as well.
Thanks, Kelly. Logan?
Yeah, so my program was also through UCAP, but it was structured a little differently. When we arrived, we had orientation, but all the UC students were actually going to 4 different campuses all around Ireland. And so there were only 2 of us going to Trinity College, and I didn't take classes with them at all. It was all classes with Irish people or maybe other study abroad people, but I really couldn't tell. That was one thing I loved about Ireland, is that I could really like immerse myself in the culture, and like that it's not super diverse. And it's like English speaking, and so I'm still able to kind of learn but with the students of the country. So it was really awesome. I made so many Irish friends. I still keep in touch with a lot of them. And my classes, kind of because they were diversified, not really one program, I had classes in different like schools. Normally at Trinity, you take classes like throughout one course. But since I was kind of all around, I had like hundreds of different classmates. So I met so many new people through that and through clubs. In terms of meal plans, I didn't have a meal plan when I was there. They had dining food, and I ate that a few times a week. But for the most part, I would cook for myself in my apartment. Our apartment was about a mile away from campus, and it was with a lot of study abroad people. So I had 3 flatmates who were one was from Boston, one was from Australia, and one was from Hong Kong. So it was really cool to kind of even just live with people from all across the world. We each kind of had our own room and bathroom, and then we shared a kitchen and common areas. So that was awesome experience. And then kind of day-to-day life, just wake up, make breakfast. I lived right next to the Guinness factory, so the smell of beer in the morning was not the best, but I got used to it. And then I would go to class and be on campus for most of the day, since I didn't really want to go back and forth a mile. And then I joined a few clubs when I was there, did some sports. And so it was really, really great opportunity. And then on the weekends, I was able to travel a lot. One cool thing about Ireland is that it's the hub of Ryanair, which has like the cheapest flights all around Europe. So I was able to travel to like 14 different countries throughout my time there. And you have a lot of opportunities to do that. And yeah, it was amazing, and I miss it, and you guys should study abroad.
Thanks, Logan. I wanted to kind of add a quick comment there. So I think they both give you a different sort of take on what we can experience. I would say that Kelly's sort of setup where, there's a meal plan is not as typical, but if you did find and what I mean by that is a meal plan, I think in the study abroad programs, a lot of them are self-catered. But so a meal plan is kind of rare, although her program was quite on the more intense side where, you're doing math all the time. So it's a little bit more structured, but the most common, I think, option is a little bit more self-catered where you are preparing your meals. And I kind of wanted to, Logan, touch a little bit about this, and I wanted to ask Kelly, there are dozens of programs out there, how did you decide that this was the right program for you?
Yeah, for me, I was mostly looking at what classes I could take. And I mentioned earlier that I finished my 32 math series at the end of my freshman year. And I originally always wanted to study abroad during summer because I didn't really want to miss the school year. And I wasn't really sure if I was going to work in an internship at that time. So it was the perfect time for me to go. And I chose this program because I was able to knock out like 3 of my core classes that I needed for graduation in one summer. And I've always wanted to go to Europe because it's very central to neighboring countries on the place. And I was talking with another friend who was interested in the entire summer school abroad program for UCAP. And the University of Glasgow, Scotland was, I believe, like the only one offering a mathematics division at the time. So I chose this specific program because it really aligned with the classes I took. But I know another factor that was very convincing for me was, of course, the location. Always wanted to go to Scotland and visit Loch Ness. It's a gorgeous place, and I'm so happy I went. And in addition to how structured the program was for me personally, they also hosted field trips every 2 weeks, and they take you on a bus. You don't have to pay or organize everything, but they take all the students to visit the castles around Scotland or the lakes, and it was a really great time and absolutely miss it. Also don't regret it at all. So if you guys are even just thinking about studying abroad, try to find like a program that could fit within your classes. It doesn't have to be core classes. It could be like just GEs, and try to find a time during your 4 years at UCLA where you feel like you can study abroad without it offsetting too much of what other things you want to do in related to your other classes or internships or work.
Excellent, thank you. So I'm gonna put in a question here, but I'm gonna sort of let you all think about it while we kind of do some Q&A, because we're starting to run a little bit long on time. But the question is, think about it, and then we'll hopefully answer it if the Q&A is a little bit quiet. What's a tip of advice that you would like to offer future engineering students that might be interested in studying abroad? So think about a tip that you want to leave them off with. In the meantime, there's a few questions in the Q&A here that I'll try to sort of address. The first one that we have here is, would I lose my Cal Grant when doing travel abroad since it is essential school out of state? There's 2 parts to that. So let me make sure I get this right. I'm like 99% sure of this, but you cannot carry your Cal Grant on a summer program. So even if you did summer sessions here on campus, you cannot carry your Cal Grant. But if you do go on a study abroad program during the academic year, yes, you can carry your Cal Grant on a UC study abroad program. Now, when it comes to out of state, it's going to be a longer conversation, but out of state, unfortunately, a student would still pay the out of state tuition supplement. Doesn't mean you're paying it double, but that sort of extra chunk of out of state tuition, you would still have to pay it for UCEAP. So that's a sort of simplified version of it when it comes to the Cal Grant and out of state students. There's a question here about how competitive the global internship program is. I've discussed this with the coordinator, and he did mention there is a competitive nature to it, but because it's still a young program and it's still starting, I don't think it's as competitive as it will be in future years. So I think you're kind of going in at a right time where it shouldn't be too competitive looking into this. One thing that I'll also do here is I'm going to drop in the email address of the coordinator so you can follow up with him, and his name is Andrew. To learn a little bit more about that program. And so a question here where I think Kelly might be answering it there. Or at least you might have started. I'll say it out loud. I don't know if you're actually typing, Kelly, but were those the only travel study programs for engineers? Absolutely not, right? So like I said, there is no one program that you can enroll in theory, and I don't recommend this, absolutely not. You could sign up for a study abroad program just for fun, God forbid. But your average student is not signing up and paying for a study abroad program just for fun. You know, ideally you're making academic progress and also having fun at the same time, but you can sign up for any program. The study abroad office doesn't check whether you're making academic progress towards your degree, but your School of Engineering probably wants you to be doing that. So that's not a requirement to apply and go to our programs, but it's something that your 99% of students would probably be doing. So the short answer is no. There are many more programs that an engineering student can sign up to study abroad. So that is all the questions that we have in the Q&A. So I'll turn it back this time to Logan. So what is one tip that you would have for future engineering applicants? And this could be any spectrum of anything for study abroad.
Yeah, so my kind of tip, or like a couple tips, are like when you get there, or like when you're traveling abroad, like travel, because you're not going to have the chance to do that again. Like take every opportunity. Since I did the semester, I had a lot of times, like a few weekends. I was just able, like most of the time I was able to go outside the country, but a lot of times I was able to just travel within Ireland and like drive around and go to Northern Ireland and go to the southern coast and stuff. So exploring your home country is definitely something that's really cool, because you're going to meet people from there, from all around. And then kind of lastly, if you're comfortable with it, travel alone, because that was something that really changed my life. Like going places and just like being there on my own and like kind of taking a lot of responsibility. Like it's really fun to travel with other people. But if you're comfortable with it, if you feel like it can be safe and you can do it in a good manner, that was really something that was really special to me. I got to do everything I wanted to do on my schedule. I didn't have to worry about other people. And it was just really, really my favorite part. Like I loved meeting new people and then traveling places with them, but traveling alone is really unparalleled. Again, if you're comfortable with it, if you think you can do it safely.
Thanks, Logan. And Kelly?
Yeah, I guess I have two pieces of advice. My first advice is if you're even slightly hesitant about applying for study abroad, there are options out there. Like for example, for me, I hesitated because I'm a financial aid student, but there are grants that I applied to and resources that could fund your program. And if it's a matter of like coursework, again, it doesn't have to be specific to the program I took. There are other programs out there offered during the school year or GEs. So if you really want to study abroad, which I totally think you should, because I do think it is like a life-changing experience, like look into it because you only get a couple chances to really do so. And once you're in the study abroad program, my best advice is to have an open mind. You're going to be exposed to a new culture with new people, and it's going to be such a good experience if you really take every opportunity you get to meet someone new there, to try a new activity, try a new restaurant or dish, and also travel as much as you can. Granted, if you're in Europe, for example, for me, I was in Scotland, so flight tickets are super cheap, and I definitely took advantage of every weekend I could to go out with my friends and just like have a good time, and lots of memories were made.
Excellent. Thank you, Kelly. I just want to acknowledge there's another question in the chat, and Logan, specifically for Logan in civil engineering, so he'll be answering that shortly for you. In the meantime, we're going to be wrapping up our session here. First, I want to let you know if you want to sort of get more updates in terms of deadlines, scholarships, and things like that, please check out or sign up for our mailing list. You can use this QR code or the bit.ly here /UCLA IEO list, all lowercase. The study abroad office, our physical space is still closed, and that's primarily because we're short-staffed. We're hiring for our front desk right now, but once we get that, we're going to slowly start opening up our physical space for drop-in advising. Nonetheless, at the moment, we're still doing virtual drop-in advising, so you can check that out at our contact page. We do that Monday through Thursday, and we also schedule one-on-one virtual advising appointments with students. If you don't like mailing lists and you want to get updates in a different way, we are on social media. Feel free to check out these handles so you can get our updates. And last part here, I'm going to pass it off to Kat, contact information for the School of Engineering advising team.
Yeah, so I think if you're in engineering, like we probably like drilled this URL into you already, but again, like you want to make sure to bookmark our main website. Again, I think you'll find a lot of answers to your questions there. We are open from 8 to 5 Monday through Friday as well. We don't take same day appointments, but you can still, drop by in person and ask our front desk person. And sometimes we have a counselor up there as well. And then on our website, you can also schedule either an in-person or a Zoom appointment. We also do offer drop-in hours, but they're all virtual for now, just to kind of minimize in-person traffic at the office right now. And we're located on 6426 Bolter Hall. We also have a phone number there, so you can also call and someone at the front desk will also pick up as well. Or you can also send us a message in Message Center, and you can send it to our general queue or our course evaluation queue to get any of those specific questions answered.
All right, well, thank you, Kat. Thank you, Logan. Thank you, Kelly, all of our returnees, and thank you all for joining us. That wraps up our session. Check out the other sessions that we have already on the on-demand section, and have a good rest of your week. Take care, everyone. Bye.